Every year, they gave my sister surprise trips and told me, we're just doing what we can afford. So I stayed quiet. Until I bought a beach apartment with a signing bonus they never knew about. When I posted it, my mom texted, seriously? This feels personal. My name is Sarah, and I'm 28 years old. I have a younger sister, Emma, who's 25, and we grew up in what most people would consider a middle-class household. My parents, Linda and David, always made sure we had food on the table, clothes on our backs, and a roof over our heads. But there was always this difference in how they treated us that I couldn't quite put my finger on until I got older. Emma was what you'd call the golden child. She was outgoing, bubbly, the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking into it. She was also incredibly social, always surrounded by friends, always the center of attention at family gatherings. Me? I was the quiet one. The studious one. The one who spent Friday nights with my nose in a book instead of out partying. My parents always said they were proud of my academic achievements, but their actions told a different story. It started small when we were kids. Emma would get brand name clothes while I got the store brand. Emma would get the latest phone while I got her hand-me-down. When I asked about it, my parents would always say the same thing, Sarah, you know we have to be careful with money. We're just doing what we can afford. I accepted it because Emma was younger, and I figured maybe they were just being practical. But then high school rolled around, and the pattern became impossible to ignore. For Emma's 16th birthday, my parents threw her a massive party. They rented out the community center, hired a DJ, bought decorations, and invited half the school. It must have cost them thousands of dollars. For my 16th birthday the year before? We went to dinner at Applebee's and I got a $50 gift card to Barnes & Noble. When I asked why the difference, my mom looked at me with this almost pitying expression and said, Sarah, honey, you know Emma is more social. She needs these experiences. You're happy with your books, right? I nodded and smiled because what else was I supposed to do? Make a scene? Demand equal treatment like some spoiled brat? No, I internalized it. I told myself that maybe they were right. Maybe I was just different, and different meant getting different things. The real kicker came during our college years. Emma decided she wanted to go to State University, about 3 hours away from home. It wasn't a particularly prestigious school, but it had a good social scene and a decent business program. My parents not only paid her full tuition but also gave her a generous monthly allowance for expenses. They set her up in a nice apartment near campus and made sure she never wanted for anything. Meanwhile, I had busted my ass to get into Columbia University in New York. Full academic scholarship, too, something my parents briefly mentioned at dinner one night before the conversation moved on to Emma's sorority rush. When I needed money for textbooks, living expenses, or even just food, I was told to get a part-time job. It'll be good for you, Sarah, my dad said. Character building. Emma's got enough on her plate with her studies. Emma's studies, by the way, consisted of a business major with a 2.8 GPA and a social calendar that would make a Kardashian jealous. But sure, Dad. Character building. I worked 3 jobs through college. I was a research assistant, I tutored undergrads, and I worked weekends at a coffee shop. I lived in the cheapest dorm room available and survived on ramen noodles and whatever free food I could find on campus. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in computer science, and had already landed a job at a major tech company in San Francisco before I even walked across the stage. Emma graduated 2 years after me with her business degree and moved back home. My parents were thrilled to have their baby girl back and immediately started talking about helping her find an apartment, and maybe even a car. Emma had vague plans about maybe doing marketing or something but was in no rush to start her career. And this is where the trip started. The first one happened about 6 months after Emma moved back home. I was working crazy hours at my new job, trying to prove myself in the male-dominated tech world, when I saw the Instagram posts. Emma was in fucking Cabo San Lucas, living it up at some luxury resort. Cocktails by the pool, spa treatments, the works. The caption read, so grateful for the best parents ever. Needed this little getaway to figure out my next steps. #blessed #family love. I called my mom that night. You sent Emma to Mexico? Oh, you saw her posts. Mom sounded genuinely excited. Yes, we thought she needed a little break. You know how stressful it's been for her, trying to figure out her career path. We found a great deal on the resort. How much was this great deal? There was a pause. Sarah, you know we don't discuss money matters. It wasn't that expensive, and Emma deserved a little treat. What about me? I've been working 70-hour weeks, and I haven't had a vacation since. Honey, you have a good job now. You can afford your own vacations. We're just doing what we can afford to help Emma while she's still finding her way. There it was again. That phrase. We're just doing what we can afford. I hung up feeling like I was being dramatic, like maybe I was just jealous. I pushed the feeling down and focused on work. The next year, it was Costa Rica. The year after that, Thailand. Then Italy. Then fucking Iceland. Each trip was more elaborate than the last, and each time I asked about it, I got the same response, we're just doing what we can afford, and Emma really needed this. Emma never seemed to really need a job, though. She bounced between a few part-time retail positions, lived at home rent-free, and spent her days at yoga classes and brunch with friends. Meanwhile, I was climbing the corporate ladder, working insane hours, and barely had time to date, let alone travel. The breaking point came last Christmas. I had flown home for the holidays, spending a small fortune on last-minute flights because I'd been working on a major project launch right up until December 23rd. I was exhausted, stressed, and really looking forward to just relaxing with family. Emma bounced into the living room on Christmas morning with her phone in hand. Guess what? Mom and Dad are sending me to Japan for New Year's. I've always wanted to see Tokyo, and they found this amazing tour package. I leave tomorrow. I sat there holding my gift, a generic World's Best Daughter mug that I was pretty sure came from the grocery store pharmacy section, and just stared at her. Japan. They were sending her to fucking Japan. That's great, I managed to say. I know, right? They said I'd been working so hard at the boutique, and they wanted to reward me. Plus, Mom said it might help me figure out if I want to get into international business or something. Emma had been working part-time at a clothing boutique for 3 months. 3 months. And that constituted working so hard. I pulled my mom aside later that day. Japan, Mom? Really? She had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. Sarah, I know it seems like a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot. It is a lot. Do you have any idea what a trip to Japan costs? We got a good deal. Stop. Just stop with a good deal bullshit. I was trying to keep my voice down, but I was shaking with anger. Do you know what I got for working my ass off this year? For getting promoted twice? For finally being able to afford my own place in San Francisco? A mug, Mom. A $5 mug. Sarah, you don't need us to buy you things anymore. You have a good salary. It's not about the money. I exploded. It's about the fact that you've spent the last 10 years giving Emma everything she wants while telling me to be grateful for scraps. It's about the fact that she's never worked for anything in her life, and you reward her with international vacations while I kill myself trying to make you proud and get a fucking mug. My mom's face went cold. I don't like your tone, Sarah. We've always supported both of you girls equally. Equally? I laughed, and it came out bitter and harsh. Mom, you spent more on Emma's last trip to Italy than I made in my first 6 months out of college. You bought her a car when she turned 21. You pay her phone bill, her car insurance, her health insurance. She lives at home rent-free and you fund her social life. But sure, tell me again how you support us equally. Emma needs more support right now. Emma is 25 years old. When do you stop making excuses for her? We didn't speak for the rest of my visit. I flew back to San Francisco on New Year's Eve, watching Emma's Instagram stories of her exploring Tokyo while I sat alone in an airport bar, drinking overpriced wine and questioning everything about my relationship with my family. That's when I made a decision. I was done trying to prove myself to them. Done trying to earn love and recognition that they apparently reserved exclusively for Emma. I was going to focus on my own life and let them figure out their golden child situation without me. I threw myself into work with a vengeance. I took on bigger projects, worked longer hours, and networked like my life depended on it. 8 months later, I was offered a senior developer position at a startup that was about to go public. The offer came with a base salary that was double what I was making, plus equity, plus a signing bonus that was more money than I had ever seen in my life. The signing bonus was $150,000. $150,000. Just for saying yes to the job. I sat in my apartment, staring at the contract, and suddenly I knew exactly what I was going to do with that money. I'd always dreamed of having a place by the ocean. Growing up, we'd taken a few family trips to the beach, and those were honestly some of my happiest childhood memories. I used to fantasize about having my own little beach house someday, a place where I could listen to the waves and just breathe. So I started looking. And because the universe apparently has a sense of humor, I found the perfect place within a week. It was a 1-bedroom condo in a small coastal town about 2 hours south of San Francisco. Nothing huge or fancy, but it had floor-to-ceiling windows facing the ocean, a small balcony, and was walking distance to the beach. The seller was motivated, and I was able to negotiate a great price. With my signing bonus as a down payment and my solid income, the monthly mortgage was manageable, though definitely more than my San Francisco rent. But having a place by the ocean where I could escape on weekends felt worth every penny. I closed on the property 3 weeks later and spent the next month furnishing it and making it mine. I hung fairy lights on the balcony, bought comfortable furniture that I actually liked instead of just what was cheapest, and set up a little home office where I could work remotely when I wanted to. It was perfect. It was mine. And my family had no idea it existed. I kept the purchase quiet for a while, just enjoying having this secret sanctuary. I'd drive down on weekends, work from the beach, and feel more relaxed than I had in years. I wasn't hiding it maliciously, I just wasn't volunteering information to people who had never shown much interest in my life anyway. But Emma's latest Instagram post changed that. She was in fucking Bali. Bali? The photos were straight out of a travel magazine: infinity pools, temple tours, some kind of luxury resort that probably costs more per night than most people make in a week. The caption was the usual: so grateful for my amazing parents who always support my dreams. This trip is exactly what I needed to get inspired for my new business venture. #blessed, #Bali, #grateful, #living my best life. New business venture. Emma had been talking about starting a lifestyle blog for approximately 2 years, and the closest she'd come to making it happen was buying a ring light and taking pictures of her smoothie bowls. I stared at those photos for probably 10 minutes, feeling all the old resentment bubble up again. Here I was, busting my ass in the tech industry, and my parents were funding Emma's extended gap year tour of the world while she found herself. That's when I decided it was time to share my own little announcement. I spent the weekend at the beach house, taking photos. Nothing too over the top, just some nice shots of the view from my balcony, the sunset over the ocean, my coffee cup on the little table I'd set up by the window. I put together a simple Instagram post with multiple photos and wrote, "Just wanted to share some exciting news, I bought my first property. This little beach condo is my new weekend retreat, and I'm so grateful that my hard work has allowed me to have this peaceful space by the ocean. There's nothing quite like the sound of waves to clear your head after a long week. Here's to new chapters and making dreams come true through dedication and perseverance. #new chapter, #beach house, #work hard, #dreams come true, #grateful." I hit post and then put my phone away. I had planned to just enjoy my weekend and deal with whatever response came later. My phone started buzzing within an hour. The first text was from Emma: "Sarah, what the fuck, you bought a house? Why didn't you tell us?" Then my dad: "Sarah, Emma just showed us your Instagram post. We need to talk." Then my mom: "Seriously? This feels personal." That last one made me laugh out loud. This feels personal. Everything about the last decade of my life had felt personal, Linda. But sure, my success was what felt personal to her. I turned off my phone and went for a walk on the beach. When I finally checked my messages that night, it was a shit show. My parents had apparently spent the day interrogating Emma about how I could afford a beach house, whether I was secretly making more money than they thought, and why I hadn't told them about such a major purchase. Emma had done some digging online and discovered that I'd been promoted twice in the last year, something I had mentioned briefly in family phone calls but they'd never really focused on. She'd also looked up my company and discovered that they'd gone public recently, which meant my stock options were worth a decent amount of money. A quick LinkedIn search had filled in most of the gaps about my career progression. The family group chat was blowing up. "Mom, Sarah, we need to talk. Call me." "Dad, this is very concerning behavior, Sarah. Why are you being so secretive?" "Emma, I'm so confused right now. Sarah has been acting like she's broke this whole time?" "Mom, Sarah, your father and I are very hurt that you didn't share this news with us. We're your family." "Dad, we've always been supportive of your career. This feels like a slap in the face." "Emma, wait, did you guys know Sarah was making enough money to buy a house?" "Mom, Sarah, please call me. This is ridiculous." I screenshot the whole conversation and sent it to my best friend Rachel with the caption, "And they wonder why I didn't tell them." Rachel called me immediately. "Oh my God, Sarah. They're really going to make this about them, aren't they?" "Of course they are. I'm the selfish daughter who doesn't share things with her loving, supportive family. The same loving, supportive family that's been funding your sister's world tour while you worked 3 jobs in college? That would be the one." I didn't respond to the family group chat that night. Or the next day. I had taken Monday off work to enjoy my new place, and I was not going to let their drama ruin it. But Linda is nothing if not persistent. She called me 17 times on Monday. 17. I finally answered on the 18th call because I was afraid she might actually drive to San Francisco looking for me. "Sarah Elizabeth, what is going on with you?" "Hi, Mom. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. How are you?" "Don't give me attitude. Why didn't you tell us about the house? I told you I got promoted. I told you work was going well. I didn't realize I needed to give you a detailed breakdown of my finances. This isn't about money, Sarah. This is about family. We're supposed to share these things with each other." "Are we?" Because Emma has been to 6 different countries in the last 3 years, and I found out about all of those trips through Instagram. "That's different. How is it different, Mom? How is it different that you plan elaborate surprise trips for Emma but I'm expected to announce my personal purchases to the family?" "Because we paid for Emma's trips. We have a right to know what we're spending our money on. This house of yours, how did you afford it? Are you in some kind of financial trouble? Did you take out loans you can't afford?" And there it was. She couldn't even conceive of the possibility that I might have actually earned enough money to afford something nice. It had to be some kind of financial irresponsibility on my part. "No, Mom. I'm not in financial trouble. I got a significant signing bonus when I changed jobs, and I used it as a down payment. The mortgage is well within my means." Silence on the other end. "How significant?" "I'm not discussing my salary with you, Mom." Sarah, we're your parents. If you're doing well, we should know about it. We worry about you. You worry about me? Really? When was the last time you asked how I was doing? And I mean really asked, not just housework in passing during a phone call that's really about Emma? That's not fair, isn't it? Mom, do you know what I do at work? Do you know what my job title is? Do you know that I've been promoted twice in the last year? Do you know that my company went public and that I'm actually doing pretty well for myself? More silence. I thought your job was computers. My job is computers, Mom. I'm a senior software developer at a tech startup that just went public. I make good money. I work hard for it, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Well, we're proud of you too, honey. Are you? Because it's never felt that way. It's felt like you're proud of Emma for existing and occasionally showing up to part-time jobs, while I'm just expected to figure everything out on my own. Sarah, that's not true. We've always supported both of you girls. Mom, stop. Just stop saying that. You and I both know it's not true. I hung up. The family drama continued for the rest of the week. Emma called me crying, saying she felt terrible that I thought our parents loved her more. Dad left me a voicemail about family values and respect for parents. Mom texted me daily with various guilt trips about how hurt and confused she was. The extended family got involved too, because apparently my personal real estate decisions were now everyone's business. My Aunt Carol called me to say she'd heard from my mother that I was going through something and wanted to make sure I was okay. My cousin Jake, who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years, suddenly slid into my Instagram DMs asking about my sick beach pad and whether I wanted to hang out sometime. Even my grandmother got pulled into the drama. At 87 years old, she somehow managed to figure out Instagram just to look at my posts, then called my mother to ask why everyone was so upset about Sarah having a nice house. In my day, she apparently told my mom, we were proud when our children did well for themselves. When my mom relayed this conversation to me, she seemed baffled by the concept. The most ridiculous part was that my parents started treating my success like some kind of personal attack on their parenting. My dad actually said, during one particularly heated phone call, we raised you better than this, Sarah. Since when do you make major life decisions without consulting your family? Since I became a financially independent adult? I replied. Dad, I'm 28 years old. I have a career, I pay my own bills, I haven't asked you for money since college. At what point am I allowed to make my own choices? That's not the point. Then what is the point? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're upset that I succeeded without needing your help. The conversation ended with him hanging up on me. Meanwhile, Emma was having her own crisis. She called me Tuesday night, completely panicked. Sarah, I think I fucked up, she said without preamble. What happened? I was talking to Mom about everything that's been going on, and I mentioned that maybe they had been treating us differently. Not in a bad way. She added quickly. Just, acknowledging that maybe they did help me more than they helped you. Okay? Mom completely lost it. She started crying and saying I was ungrateful, that they'd sacrificed so much for both of us, that she couldn't believe both her daughters were turning against her. Then she said maybe they should have just saved all the money they spent on my trips and let me figure things out on my own like you did. I felt a familiar stab of irritation. Even in the middle of a crisis, my mother couldn't acknowledge my accomplishments without making it sound like some kind of character flaw. What did you say to that? I asked. I panicked. I told her I was grateful for everything they'd done, that I didn't mean it like that I was just trying to understand your perspective. But Sarah, she was so upset. She kept saying that she tried so hard to be a good mother and now both of us were making her feel like she'd failed. And there it was, the guilt trip that had controlled both Emma and me our entire lives. Our mother's feelings were always the most important thing in the room. Her comfort, her happiness, her sense of being appreciated always came before anything else. Emma, I said carefully, do you think it's possible that Mom gets upset when we try to have honest conversations about our family because she doesn't want to acknowledge that maybe some things weren't handled perfectly? I don't know. Maybe? God, Sarah, this is so confusing. I never thought about this stuff before, and now I can't stop thinking about it. What kind of stuff? Like, okay, remember when I got my first job at that boutique? I was so excited, and I called to tell Mom and Dad. Dad's first reaction was to ask if I was sure I could handle working 20 hours a week on top of everything else I had going on. Everything else. Sarah, I was literally doing nothing but yoga classes and hanging out with friends. I remember that. But when you told them about your first promotion, Mom's first reaction was to ask if you were sure you were ready for the additional responsibility. Not congratulations, not how exciting, just worry that you might not be able to handle it. I was quiet for a moment, remembering that phone call. I'd been so excited about the promotion, about the recognition from my manager, about the salary increase. But after talking to my parents, I'd somehow ended up feeling anxious instead of proud. Yeah, I said finally. I remember that too. It's like they expect me to need help and you do not need help, and neither one is really fair, This was the most insightful thing I'd ever heard Emma say about our family dynamics. Emma, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you actually want to travel as much as you do? I mean, I know the trips are amazing, but do you ever feel like pressure to appreciate them in a certain way? She was quiet for a moment. Emma? I'm here. I'm just thinking. You know what's weird? I've never really asked myself that question before. What do you mean? I mean, when mom and dad offer me a trip, I just say yes. It feels ungrateful to even hesitate, you know? Like, who turns down a free vacation to Italy? But now that you're asking, sometimes I do feel like I have to be the perfect grateful daughter. Like I have to post the right photos and say the right things about how blessed I am. This was more honest than I'd expected from Emma, but it felt like a natural progression from our earlier conversation about family dynamics. That sounds exhausting. It kind of is. And the worst part is that I know how lucky I am. I know most people would kill for these opportunities. But sometimes I wonder what I'd choose if I had to pay for it myself, you know? That sounds exhausting. It is. And the worst part is that I know how lucky I am. I know most people would kill for these opportunities. But sometimes I just want to have a problem without them trying to solve it with money. Sometimes I want to figure things out for myself, but I feel like if I say that, they'll think I'm ungrateful. This conversation was blowing my mind. I'd spent so many years being jealous of Emma, assuming she was just living some perfect, carefree life. I'd never considered that the golden child treatment might come with its own set of problems. Emma, do you ever feel like you don't really know who you are outside of being the daughter who needs taking care of? Another long pause. Oh my God, she whispered. Yes. Exactly that. Sarah, I'm 25 years old, and I have no idea what I actually want to do with my life because I've never had to really think about it. Everything has always been provided for me, but now I feel like I'm so far behind everyone else my age. You're not behind. You're just on a different timeline. Maybe. But when I see your Instagram posts, when I see what you've accomplished, when I think about the fact that you figured out how to buy a house while I still live in my childhood bedroom, I feel like such a failure. My heart broke a little for her. All these years, I've been envying her life, and she'd been feeling inadequate compared to mine. Emma, you're not a failure. But maybe it's time to start making some choices for yourself instead of letting mom and dad make them for you. I know. I think I need to get my own place. And maybe turn down the next trip they offer me. As terrifying as that sounds. It is terrifying. But also kind of amazing, once you get used to it. We talked for another hour, and by the end of the conversation, I felt like I was getting to know my sister for the first time in years. Not the golden child, not the family favorite, just Emma, a confused 25-year-old who was finally starting to ask herself what she wanted out of life. The irony wasn't lost on me. It had taken me buying a beach house and causing a family crisis for Emma and me to finally have an honest relationship with each other. But the kicker came on Friday night. I was back at the beach house for the weekend when Emma showed up at my door. Just showed up. At my private sanctuary that I had specifically not shared the address of with anyone. How did you find me? I asked, not letting her inside. I looked up your address through public property records online, she said. Sarah, we need to talk. I was so stunned by the absolute audacity that I actually let her in. Emma walked into my beautiful, peaceful space and immediately started taking Instagram-worthy photos. Oh my God, this place is gorgeous. The views. Sarah, this is like something out of a magazine. Emma, what the hell are you doing here? She stopped posing and turned to face me. I'm here because our family is falling apart, and it's your fault. I'm sorry, what? Mom has been crying for days. Dad is talking about cutting you out of the will. Everyone is upset and confused, and it's all because you decided to buy a house and then act like it's some big secret. Emma, I bought a house with my own money that I earned from my job. That is not a family crisis. But you didn't tell us. You just posted it on Instagram like some stranger. We're your family, Sarah. We're supposed to share things with each other. Oh, like how you share that you were going to Bali? Or Italy? Or Iceland? Or literally any of the other trips that mom and dad have paid for? Emma looked genuinely confused. Those were different. Those were family decisions. Mom and dad wanted to send me on those trips. And I wanted to buy myself a beach house. With my own money. But you didn't even ask if we wanted to help. Help? I stared at her. Emma, when have mom and dad ever offered to help me with anything? They helped you with college? No, they didn't. I had a full scholarship. I worked 3 jobs to pay for everything else while you got a monthly allowance. That was different. How? How was that different? Emma sat down on my couch and put her head in her hands. I don't understand why you're being so mean to me. I never asked for any of this. I never asked mom and dad to pay for trips or anything else. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt sorry for her. Emma, I said, sitting down across from her, I'm not being mean to you. I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending that it doesn't hurt that our parents have different expectations and different levels of support for each of us. But they love us both. I know they love us. But love and equal treatment aren't the same thing. They've spent the last 10 years supporting your lifestyle and treating me like I should be grateful for basic acknowledgement. I'm not mad at you for accepting their help. I'm mad at them for making it so clear that their help comes with conditions I apparently don't meet. Emma was quiet for a long time. Finally, she looked up at me. I never thought about it that way. I know you didn't. You didn't have to. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the waves crash against the shore. Sarah? Emma said finally. I'm sorry. I really am. I knew things were different for us, but I guess I never realized how much it hurt you. Thank you for saying that. But I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to make Mom and Dad understand. You don't have to fix it, Emma. This isn't your problem to solve. But they're so upset. They're upset because for the first time in my adult life, I did something significant without asking for their approval or involvement. They're upset because they realized I've been successful without them, and that threatens their narrative that I'm the low-maintenance daughter who doesn't need anything. Emma stayed for another hour, and we actually had the most honest conversation we'd had in years. She admitted that she'd been feeling pressure to make the most of the opportunities our parents gave her, even when she wasn't sure what she wanted to do with her life. I admitted that I'd been jealous of her relationship with our parents and had probably been colder to her than I needed to be. It didn't fix everything, but it felt like a start. After Emma left, I sat on my balcony for a long time, processing everything we talked about. For the first time, I was seeing our family dynamics from her perspective too, and it was complicated in ways I hadn't expected. The thing that struck me most was her comment about performing gratitude. I realized that while I'd been struggling to earn my parents' love and approval, Emma had been struggling under the weight of constantly having to prove she deserved it. We'd both been trapped in roles that didn't really fit us, me as the self-sufficient daughter who didn't need anything, her as the grateful recipient who had to appreciate everything perfectly. I started thinking about all the times I'd seen Emma's Instagram posts and felt that stab of resentment. The perfectly curated travel photos, the captions about being blessed and grateful. I'd always assumed that was just who she was, someone who had never known struggle or disappointment. But now I was wondering if those posts were less about genuine joy and more about meeting expectations. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that our parents hadn't really done either of us any favors. They'd made me hyper-independent to the point where I felt guilty asking for help with anything, and they'd made Emma so dependent that she didn't trust her own ability to figure things out. But the difference was that I'd been forced to develop real skills, real confidence, real resilience. Emma was just starting that journey at 25, and I could see how scary that must be for her. I made a decision that night. I was done letting my parents' reaction dictate how I felt about my accomplishments. I had worked my ass off to get where I was, and I deserved to be proud of myself, with or without their approval. But I also decided I wanted to be the kind of sister who could support Emma as she figured out her own path, even if it looked different from mine. I posted another Instagram story that night. Just a simple photo of my morning coffee on the balcony with the caption, Sunday morning gratitude. Sometimes the best family is the one you build for yourself, including the family of dreams you make come true. But I also sent Emma a text, hey, I know we talked about a lot yesterday. Just wanted you to know that I'm proud of you for starting to ask yourself what you want. That takes courage, and you have more of it than you think. She texted back immediately, thank you. That means more than you know. My mom texted me within an hour, this is getting ridiculous, Sarah. You're acting like a child. I screenshotted and sent it to Rachel with a caption, the woman who has funded her 25-year-old daughter's gap year tour of the world is calling me childish. Rachel texted back, I'm dead. But also, good for you. You deserve that beach house and every bit of happiness it brings you. She was right. I did deserve it. The family drama has continued, of course. My parents are still hurt and confused. Emma is trying to play peacemaker while also apparently having some revelations about our family dynamics. And I'm just living my life. I love my new place. I love my job. I love the person I've become through all of this, someone who doesn't need external validation to know her own worth. My mom was right about one thing, though. This does feel personal. It feels personal because I finally chose myself. I finally decided that my happiness and success were worth celebrating, even if my family couldn't or wouldn't celebrate them with me. And honestly, that feels fucking amazing. Edit, a lot of people are asking about the current situation with my family, so I thought I'd add an update. My parents and I are still working through things. We had a long phone conversation last week where I laid out everything I've been feeling for the past decade. It was uncomfortable and emotional, but I think it needed to happen. My mom cried and said she never realized how differently they'd treated Emma and me. My dad was more defensive but did acknowledge that maybe they'd been overprotective of Emma. Emma and I are actually in a better place than we've been in years. She's started therapy and is having her own revelations about the family dynamics. She's also got a real job now, full-time, benefits, the works. I'm proud of her for taking that step. As for the beach house, I'm writing this update from my balcony at sunrise, and I can confirm that it's still the best decision I've ever made. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well. And I'm finally living very well indeed.